Good morning. Today is Chet Shvat, the 8th day of Shvat, and it is January 30th, I believe.
Yes.
Is that correct?
2 days before Yud Shvat.
2 days before Yud Shvat, that's also true. And it's also 2 days before February 1st. Look at that.
Which is when my Maskori comes.
Oh, wonderful. And we're going to learn a mimer from Torah or from the Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneor Zalman of Liadi. And this mimer is ostensibly on the Song of the Sea, or Song at the Sea. That's about the horses. So that's the how shall we say, the weak link to it, because the moment you see a horse, any Jewish child, the first thing he thinks of when he hears of horses is the horses of the Egyptians in the Red Sea. But here it's going to be going in a completely different direction. Let's read it. Lesusati. So it's called "To My Horse." It's almost like when you say it in English, it almost sounds childish. In any case, okay, let's see. So this is Torah or Samach Gimel Dalid, which means folio 63, the fourth D, the fourth side.
Don't rely on a horse for Yeshua.
Okay, there's a verse in Song of Songs that says, "To the horses," or "to my horse in the chariots of Pharaoh, I liken you, my beloved." My beloved here is, of course, in the Song of Songs, is who? That's what everybody says. But it's very. One day we'll do it. The Hasidic interpretation of it is that it's talking. My beloved is the divine soul. Okay? It's not just as a general, because we know the Hasidus always likes to turn it into something that's applicable to the individual. So we see that the beloved, again, he's not saying who the beloved is, we'll see in a moment, is likened to the horse in Pharaoh's army. So he has here a whole story that the Zohar says that when it says susati, that's the feminine form. Because in Hebrew you can tell the difference between a horse that's a male and a female. A mare and a what do you call the other one? I forgot. They have a name for it in English also. Stallions, one of them, yeah, but there's other names also. A mare and I don't remember, but a young mare is a filly. And there's a stallion and there's a young horse. I don't know what his name is. In any case, so the Zohar says that this was not so simple, this whole thing, because it says lesusati means my female horse. So he says, just as Pharaoh first in the army, he placed the female horses first, and then only later. When was this later? When he came close to the Jewish people, then he switched. The closer he got, he switched the order and he put the male horses first.
Why did he do that?
Okay. As it says in the Zohar in Parshas Beshalach on page 47, folio 47. ואחר כך בקריאת ים סוף נאמר ויעש המלאך אלוקים הולך לפני מחנה ישראל וילך מאחריהם. So it says the same thing we see by God. If you pay attention to the verses, it says that when they were coming out of Egypt, God went before them. Hashem holech lifnehem yomam. God is walking, as it were, before them during the day. But when they came, and the Egyptians came close and they were at the Red Sea, he switches the order, and then it says that the angel of God went, that was going before them. Here he explains that it wasn't God himself, it was an angel of God. It went behind them.
It's Rashi.
No, it's Pshat of the Pasuk.
It's Rashi.
Why Rashi? The Psukim say this. These are verses, these are literal verses.
As the Egyptians got closer.
Oh, okay, I don't remember. So the first question, of course, is why is the beloved of the Song of Songs likened to a mare, to a or in any case, here it says it's to say all the horses of Pharaoh. So we start with a general interpretation of horses that we know. The horses symbolized letters, right? Hine otiot nikru susim. There's a verse that is, which verse is it? I don't remember. Ata Boker. And I don't remember what the verse is. The verse in Isaiah that likens them, because they travel very quickly, the horses, back then that was the form of travel. If you walked, it took a long time. If you were on a horse, it was much quicker. Just as the horse is an extension of man's will, and he takes him wherever he wants. And it can travel even further than a man can. It can take him to very distant places. In the same manner, man's mind, the intellect, uses letters in order to get to faraway places. Now, the simple explanation is obvious. What do you mean we use letters? It means that when a child is born, it doesn't know language. So what do we mean by it knows? Language is not letters. Language is speech. Speech is not made up of letters, right? Speech is just speech. Nobody knows how to write something by hearing it. You have to learn that we didn't know until we invented writing, right? So the moment that you have writing, which is what we would call a man-made invention, because we took speech, which is something that we're naturally capable of, and we extended into letters. We broke it up into, in the beginning it was hieroglyphics or a pictorial type of language. Later it became a phonetic type of language, where the picture represents a sound and not a word, not a meaning. So all these things, they broke up language into letters, and now that you have letters, we have a way of transferring knowledge from one person to the other. And so, if I give my child an encyclopedia to read, he can read about a far away, distant place and know a lot about it without ever having traveled there. So that's the idea of letters being likened to horses, or horses representing letters. It's a very basic concept in Jewish mysticism. But here the idea is that man is to the mind as horses are to letters. Right, that my mind uses letters in order to get to distant places. But he says, just as the horse can take you to a place where the mind cannot take you at all, where your legs cannot take you at all because it's just too far, in the same way, the letters can take a person to a place where the mind cannot reach. So that's got to be different types of letters. Those are not the letters that are in the encyclopedia, because everything that's in the encyclopedia is an expression of something that somebody saw and experienced and was at. They knew about this. So you can't say about those letters that they're a place where you can't reach. Of course they're a place where somebody reached. That's exactly what they represent.
Somebody's imagination.
That's interesting.
Somebody wrote about what he imagined.
No, but all imagination is also it's based on an experience. But it might be that that's what he means, because we'll see later on that he goes in a different direction. This could be a very interesting interpretation. Thank you for saying that. Okay, let's see. V'hainu. So what are we talking about with letters? Al yedei otiyot tefillah. The example of letters taking me somewhere distant is the letters of prayer. That they take me to a place where I can't get to at all. There's no other way I can get there without these letters. The letters in the Siddur, the letters in the book of prayer, they take me all the way to the infinite. And that I can't reach with my mind. Still, he says, there still needs to be contemplation. That even though I can't think my way there, on the way, I have to contemplate what I'm saying. I have to understand what I'm saying. I have to think about what I'm saying. So he says, here he goes back to the Baal Shem Tov's famous teaching. The only person, if a person cannot contemplate if he doesn't have the ability to contemplate, he doesn't understand the meanings of the words that he's saying. Still, the letters are important. Why are they important? Because again, they carry him to a place that he can't even reach by foot. So the Baal Shem Tov taught about this to the simple folk. He said, all you have to do is you have to concentrate on the letters. And what did he learn this from? He learned this from the verse, Bo ata v'chol beitcha el hateva. Usually it's quoted, Bo el hateva. Come to the word, meaning the ark is the same word in Hebrew as a word. So God commanded Noah to go into the ark. And the Baal Shem Tov learns from this, here's an interpretation, this is what it means for us today, that if you immerse yourself in the word, meaning in the letters of the word, you don't even understand fully how to put them together, let alone that you don't understand what they stand for. You don't understand the word itself. You just see the letters in the prayer book. That's enough. So, and through the letters, one can ascend all the way to the infinite, even without understanding what they mean, as we'll explain. Still, we say every day in Psukei de Zimra, in the davening, that God does not want, He's not interested in the power, the strength of the horse. In other words, even though the letters can carry you that far, that's not what God is interested in. He is interested in the contemplation. He is interested not in your getting somewhere. He is interested in your uncovering the godliness that is within the letters. Because he wants the product of the contemplation. What is the product of contemplation? It should be that a person becomes God-fearing. So if you don't contemplate, if you don't understand what you're reading, you have to go learn and understand. Because that is not the goal even of prayer. Even though prayer is ascending, it's trying to reach the infinite, Hashem doesn't want you to stop there. That wasn't the point. It's very nice that you'll reach the infinite. But the real goal, what God really wants, is not the power of the horse, the power of the letters that can skip all the way to the infinite, but rather the contemplation that is a product of saying these words, and which then leads to fear of God. So if you didn't come out of davening with fear of God, he's saying you missed the point, even though you may have ascended all the way to the infinite. Now he explains, we said that there were female horses and male horses, and we said that the order was switched as they came closer, as the Egyptians came closer to the Jewish people. Likewise, there are two types of letters. Otiyot zcharim v'otiyot nekevot. There are letters that are male and letters that are female. Now what does he mean here? So he doesn't mean that, Aleph is, I think almost everybody has this sense. Aleph is feminine. Do you get that sense that Aleph is feminine? If I ask you now, what is Aleph, feminine or masculine? You don't have that type of relationship with it. Okay. Well, in my relationship with it, Aleph is very feminine, and Beis is very masculine. Gimel is masculine. Dal is masculine. Hey is already towards feminine. Vav is masculine. Zayin is masculine. Chet is definitely feminine, no question. Tet, questionable, I'm not sure. Yud is masculine, Kaf is feminine. Where did I get this from? I have no idea. But that's how I relate to them. But he's not talking about that at all. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about that usually the way this is explained is that there are two types of aleph bits, of alphabets. There is the masculine alphabet and the feminine alphabet. The feminine alphabet has 22 letters in it. The masculine alphabet has 27 letters in it. Okay, that's the way it's usually explained.
The alphabet consisted of 2 words.
What?
Yes, dear.
Oh, yeah, that's a very simple alphabet. But no, he's not talking about that alphabet. Otiyot nekevot. So what does it mean here, really? He says the feminine letters are those that cause an elevation from below to above. They elevate you. It'll be like the alphabet used to write the oral Torah. The same alphabet, right? There's nothing new about it. But in spite of the fact that it's the same alphabet, it's what we respond to God, what we say to God, what we learned from the Torah. This is what we learned. So we write it out in what we call a feminine alphabet. To put it in another way, it's the way that regular people understand. So when Rabbi Steinsaltz translated the Talmud from its original text, which was mixed Aramaic, Hebrew, Persian, and Greek, and Latin, and whatever else he wants, he translated it into Hebrew or into English, as it is now in Sefaria or anywhere you go. So he was translating it from masculine letters into feminine letters. Why? Because the feminine letters are something that a regular person can elevate with. He understands what's being said. It's lifting him. It's in colloquial language. It's in language everybody understands. And by this understanding, that's like the contemplation that we contemplate when we're davening. So the contemplation that I also understand what I'm saying. I'm not just saying it. It has the power of elevating me, even if I don't understand. But the real elevation here is when I change internally and I then have fear of heaven because of the contemplation. So I understood what I'm saying. Right? I have to understand what I'm saying. So that is called feminine letters. They cause you to elevate from below to above, or what we call an awakening from below. And then, through this awakening from below, there comes a new awakening from above. Then God is also, as it were, awakened because of my elevation towards Him. Ki ruach aite ruach ve'amshi ruach, as the Zohar says, the spirit that goes up brings down 2 measures for every measure that goes up. Right? Where is this from? Where do we get this idea that there's such a thing? So we know that when rain falls down, compared to the amount of the drop that falls down, the Talmud says, twice as much rises back up. Right? So one way of explaining it is when you take actually a picture, high speed with a high speed camera, and you slow it down, you see that the raindrop is maybe this big, and the amount of water that it displaces and flows back up is twice as much. That's one of the explanations. There's many explanations for this, but the idea is that it's what some American comedian I once heard him say, and it's true. It's a very good way to state it. Is that whatever you give towards heaven, you get back twice as much. That's the idea. Whatever you give, you get it twice as much. Where do we learn this from? We also learned this from Eliyahu and Elisha. When Eliyahu went up to heaven, as it were, whatever the situation there was, when he passed away, he said to Elisha, if you see me going up, you will receive twice as much power of prophecy as I did. And indeed he received twice as much, and the sages note a number of things that he did twice as much. One of them is that Eliyahu brought back to life 1 person and Elisha brought back to life 2 people. In any case. So this is called Ruach Aite Ruach Ve'amshi Ruach. That spirit begets spirit and draws down spirit. Ki darko shel ish lechazer achar isha. Hamshacha milemala lemata b'bchinat sovev. And milemala lemata is what we call the light that surrounds our worlds. And what we mean by that normally is that that's the aspect of God that is transcendent, that is beyond the limits. Shu bli gvul, it's limitless. Deleit machshavat tfisa be, which the mind cannot grasp. Lemala masaga, above our conception. And that is what is received below. Liyot b'chinat gilui lemata l'dei susim scharim, v'aynu ba'otiyot Torah. And because of that, you receive a revelation of Torah. In other words, the Torah could not be given from above to below. It could not be revealed. The letters of the Torah, which are masculine letters, they're not feminine. Why? Because they're like God-given. They're from above. They come from above to below. They could only be given after 7 generations of prayer. And the patriarchs prayed, and Yosef's generation prayed, and really the incredible amount of prayer that was invested in the slavery in Egypt resulted in the end in the bringing down of the Torah. And because God says, I heard the cries of the Jewish people. And so not only am I going to take them out, I'm taking them out in order to give them the Torah. Okay, so the prayer begets the Torah. In other words, the awakening from below produces an awakening from above. or the feminine letters, the letters of understanding that we have, they cause an awakening from above with masculine letters. And causing God to be revealed imminently. So when I awaken the transcendent descends, as it were, and God is revealed imminently in the world. This we're going to have to stop here today, and God willing continue tomorrow on the 9th day of Shvat, which will be the 31st day of January.